Okay, all right, guys, welcome to the another episode of the C&J Speedway Review. My name is Corey Huffnagel, and so not only we are getting down to Daytona coming up in the next few weeks, but we are also getting ready for the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday, which we will have the Philadelphia Eagles take on the New England Patriots. And sitting beside me and down in Connecticut, who's probably going to be rooting for the Patriots, or maybe so, is Mr. Chris Burns. How are we doing tonight?
Not too bad. I stand with Eddie. If nobody heard the Loke and Jabroni show, we are going with all three of us are going with the New England Patriots simply because Eagles fans don't know how to act. So we're going to leave it at that. All three of us are all in for the Blitz for 6. Tom Brady one more time.
Well, all I could just say is my pick for the Super Bowl is going to be coming up at the end of this show, but anywho, so we got about, I'd say, 2 or maybe 3 weeks until the Daytona 500.
18 days, my friend. 18 days.
I can't wait. It's coming down pretty quick, and I'm already looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun. The cars are going to roll off the trailers any time now in the next, the day after the Super Bowl, I think, is Speed Weeks?
I probably say like Friday. That's when everybody will be practicing, and then you got the Clash, which will be the exhibition race coming up, and then after that, there'll be a lot of activities at Daytona, which you have qualifying, you got the qualifying races to make it in the 500. And then after that, we got the all 3 series openers. So you got the trucks racing on the 16th, the Xfinity guys on the 17th, and then you got the Daytona 500 on the 18th. So not only we're looking forward to a lot of exciting events, but, we're going to see a lot of exciting racing down in Daytona.
Absolutely. And it looks like, if I'm looking at the schedule correctly, they're considering Speed Weeks to start on the 11th, which is only 7 days. But they're going to roll off probably a day or two, if not 3 or 4, after the Super Bowl to get the cars ready to throw down practice, just to get the bugs out. They haven't been running these cars all winter. Some of them have done some practice, but this is it. This is when the rubber meets the road, no pun intended. And you have I love Speed Weeks. There's something about it. You can have preseason baseball, preseason football, you can have all of that, but there's something about Speed Weeks when you can watch the duels, you can watch the truck race, the Xfinity race, the Daytona 500. You see all the practices. Qualifying days are always fun.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't know, if you're a fan of racing and you're watching this show, you already know they do 1 round of qualifying, and that's to determine the pole and the second position. Everything else is by the duels. One race will be odd numbers. One race will be even numbers. Of course, then there's penalties. People get kicked back. This one changed an engine. This one changed this. Everything gets shuffled around. But that's the beauty of it. It's the only time on the racing schedule where we have this much activity leading up to a race. Most sports have their biggest event at the end of the year. NASCAR is different. We throw it at you at the beginning of the year, and it sets the tone for everything else.
Absolutely. And I think the best thing about it is that you'll see all the drivers with the new uniforms and new paint schemes. I think that's what's going to make it very interesting, once everybody hits the track at the DAB coming up in a few weeks. But other than that, I'm actually really looking forward to see what everyone else has for their paint schemes, not only on the Cup side, but on the Xfinity and Truck Series as well. And that's really the best part, that I really like the most is, seeing all the new cars, the new colors, the new numbers. I mean, that's what really makes it exciting.
Absolutely. I look forward to this. When the Super Bowl's over, I know that it's a 14-day countdown, and all is right in the world again. Sundays are for racing, as are Fridays and Saturdays. But let's be honest, the big boys come out on Sunday, and it's always fun. Got me this big old new recliner now to watch my races in, so I am looking forward to a fantastic season.
I think it's going to be a very exciting year, and I think this year is going to produce a lot of surprises, the way that this is shaping up.
Oh, yeah, between like we spoke about a few weeks ago, the elder statesmen, the rookie crop, those guys in between like Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, this is probably the best crop of race car drivers on all three of those levels that we've had in many, many years.
Exactly. And actually, I actually want to like point this out. So, did you hear what Kyle Busch ended up saying like during the media tour? I think this was like a couple weeks back. He said that it's kind of like unfair, like how they're producing all these like young guys when clearly yet they haven't even won a race yet in the Cup Series and so forth. And ever since he said that, a lot of the young guys kind of came back and they said, well, actually Ryan Blaney said this, and I thought this was kind of perfect. He said, NASCAR pretty much calls me, to do like an event, because they know I'm going to say yes, to do it. Comparing to, they're not going to call Kyle Busch because he's obviously going to say no.
Right. And on top of that, he said it best. I think it was Blaney who said Kyle Busch seems to forget that he was once one of the young guys that they were pushing through the moon. He had the talent. They gave him a little push. He's got his fans. Kyle Busch, oh, you see, you're going to kick it off right away, aren't you?
Yeah.
Kyle Busch needs to remember where he came from. And part of the problem, not part of the problem, part of the reason why people dislike Kyle, you never hear someone say, I like Kyle Busch. You're either a fan or you're not. And the reason most people aren't fans is because of his attitude. You're not the king of the world. So maybe it's time you remember that at one point, sir, you were the young driver. You were the up-and-comer. You were the person that they pushed in the youth movement. Now you're a little bit older. You've got a championship under your belt. You've got a lot of wins. You're easily going to be a Hall of Fame driver. Take that thing under your nose and zip it shut.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that.
Exactly. But actually what's kind of interesting about this, and I think the reason why I kind of like how NASCAR is kind of cropping these young drivers is if you think about it, NASCAR will probably attract a lot of young fans, pretty much 6-7 years down the road. And, because if you think about it now, NASCAR already has that new, ticket price, whatever it is. Like, if you go to an Xfinity race or a truck race, whatever, like if anybody's like 12 or under, then, they basically get in for free. And then not only that, you also have young kids like, strolling around, like, wearing like, all the NASCAR apparel and whatnot. And not only that, you got the young drivers that are coming in who are like 16, 17 years old. And like I said, we're already entering in a new chapter of, the young guys are coming in and the veteran guys are just going to give, actually the young guys are going to give the veterans a run for their money.
Sure. And you're going to have situations where, say, you have a father, a mother, and the kids, they go to the race, and mom and dad, everybody likes the same driver, but that kid is going to be having their eye caught by another driver. Like, ooh, I like him. I can point to my daughter. She's never been to a race, but she's watched enough with me where she was Kevin Harvick fan. And then one day, just out of the blue, she saw Martin Truex Jr., and that was everything.
Yeah.
That's my guy. Okay. Sure, and it's cool to do that. And I think Kyle Busch, he came up that same way. They went to the races. The parents funded his dream, if you will. And he forgets he was that kid once. He was that kid looking up to those drivers, whether they were the grizzled veterans smoking cigarettes or they were the fresh-faced young rookie saying, hey, gee whiz, follow me. You need that. You need the balance. And I think he's just taking it a little too far because when you look at it, the veterans far outweigh the rookie crop. But the young crowd, and I'll throw that rookie crop and those middle of the roaders that I already told you about age-wise, they're dominant.
Yeah.
There's more of them than there are of the grizzled vets.
Absolutely.
So it's good, with that in mind, the season's going to kick off. I know we talked about having some questions ready. So lead us, oh mighty leader.
All right, so I'm pretty much going to have to wing it on this one, but one question I'm going to start off with. So, as just announced, Thorough Sport Racing is going to be partnering with Ford this season. So, my question is, how many wins do you think they're going to rack up this season, and do you think 3 of their drivers are going to go to the championship for?
Ford in general, or?
Well, Ford for Thorough Sport.
Okay, and what's their crop of drivers?
Matt Craft in the 88, Ben Rhodes in the 27, and Grant Infinger in the 98.
Okay, so you have a grizzled vet, a middle of the rotor, and a rookie all in one crop.
Yeah.
Crafton and Rhodes have already shown that they have the skills to get to victory lane. That team alone will have minimally 4 wins. And that's a minimum. And I see Rhodes and Crafton making it into the championship run easily. I don't see all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So I'll say 4 wins, 2 drivers in the playoffs. Too easy.
I'd probably say, like, I was kind of not surprised when they made this move, the Ford. And somebody was telling me that, now that they're going to be making the switch, they might be getting engines from like Roush Yates, if that's pretty much, my understanding, to say the least. But if you look at their statistics last season, you know how many times Ford won a race in the Truck Series in the 2017 campaign?
I do not. 2, okay.
Yep, and that was pretty much both of the Keselowski drivers, which was when Cindric ended up winning at Canada, and then Chase Briscoe won the finale race at Homestead. But the way I look at this, if Thorosport and Ford are gonna like probably be the best team like this year, or probably gonna step up this year, they have to start running up front. They got to win races, and they got to get more of the stage wins as possible. And actually, one driver who I kind of look at right now that I really think that he needs to have a good shot at going to the championship this year is Matt Crafton. And you look at his results last season. Think about it. He only had 1 win at Eldora, but then other than that, he had a couple top 10, top 5 finishes, to say the least. But you look at his results. If I can get it down here for just 1 second. Sure. Yeah, so he only had like 5 top 5s and 16 top 10s. I mean, no doubt about it. This team was pretty good, last season, but in the regular season. But then if you look at their playoff results, his only worst finish was like 21st at Phoenix, to say the least. I mean, they did make it to the championship 4, but they didn't, cap it off winning the championship. But I think this is going to be a make or break season for the 88. And I have to say that if they don't, be successful this year, and if they don't, get off on a championship run, I would have to say that Duke Thuroson is going to have to make a crew chief change, as well as Ben Rhodes and Enfinger. I expect to see those guys, to run up front, and hopefully I expect to see, Rhodes win probably more than 1 race, and then Enfinger, we all know how he did it, like Daytona and Talladega a couple of years ago. So there's no doubt in my mind that I think those guys will be a one to watch.
Oh yeah, without question. And Ben Rhodes he was in the championship run this past year, as was Crafton, I believe. So with the loss of Christopher Bell moving up to the Xfinity Series, it's a wide open forum where anyone can sneak in. The 2 that they're not going to have to sneak in. Crafton, Rhodes, from the other teams, you have Cindric. You have a good crop. That 1 spot left behind by Christopher Bell is anybody's spot.
Right.
Who will it be? Let's find out. Get out there. And we were just talking about something similar last night on Loki and Jabroni show when people complain about the dominance of, and I'll just throw Jimmy Johnson out here, but we were talking about the New England Patriots. If you want to end the dominance, don't be an Eagles fan for a day. If you're a fan of the Dolphins or the Jets or whomever, employ your team, speak with your dollar, speak with your word, and say, build us a team that will stop this. And unfortunately, when we speak of the Truck Series, that team walked. I don't know who's getting in the number 4 truck, but you lost the champion driver. You still have the champion team, but you lost the driver.
Right.
Whoever fills that spot probably is the odds-on favorite to be the last guy in that round of 8. But we won't know until they drop the flag on Friday the 16th at 7:30.
Exactly.
So I had a question for you now that I think about it. They just changed the over the wall from 6 members to 5 members, meaning somebody's going to have to do double duty. You had the 2 tire guys, the jack man, the gas man. Now you're losing one. Yeah. Who does, in your opinion, who does double duty and why?
Okay, so I would probably say, the guy would have to do the tires and the adjustments would have to do the double duty. I mean, because if you look at it, like how many seconds is it in a pit stop? It's like probably 12, maybe like 13 or so. And we
Yeah.
all know what happened with the whole situation with Matt Kenseth a year ago at like Kansas, which that should have never happened because you had more than 5 pit crew guys over the wall. But I think the reason why NASCAR is kind of doing this is they want to try and be on like the safe side because let's be honest, like, we've had some pit road incidents, within like the last couple of years, and even one got killed like a couple of years ago and so forth. But I would probably say that with this new pit crew change, I mean, yeah, it could make a big difference, when you're making the pit stops and whatnot, and you could probably get out maybe a little less than under like 13 seconds, maybe a bit over. But I think it should be interesting to see how they do this at Daytona, and not only that, all the races this season.
I was actually thinking when they announced that, it's going to go back to when I started watching racing and you saw an Earnhardt or a Wallace or a Harry Gant pull into the pits, and a 17-second pit stop was good.
Yeah.
A 15-second pit stop was great. And now we're in a world where 11, 12, 13-second pit stops are the norm.
Right.
So when you see a guy get out in 12.1, you're like, wow, they're really busting it. But you have 6 guys. Now, if you go way back when, they had 7 guys over the wall.
Yeah.
So now I think it's a bad move, and I think by midseason you're going to see 6 go back over because you're going to find it, and I'm sure they've been practicing all winter to figure out, okay, we got 2 tire guys, we got a jack man. One of you's got to do double duty. Well, that's great. If you're the gas guy, which I feel that's where it's going to be, and that's where we're going to have the biggest problem. The gas guy on the rear of the car is going to have to be the tire guy too. Well, it takes that entire pit stop to drain that American ethanol all the way into the engine. You're not going to have enough time to hold that can and then, okay, we got to go around to the other side of the car.
Yeah.
How are they going to do it? It takes that full 12 to 13 seconds to get that fuel in. They start on the opposite side of the car.
Yeah.
How are they going to get it done? Is the jack man going to be the guy? Is he going to jack the car and hold the gas can and do all this? And he's going to be in somebody's way because we all know at the back of the car, just beyond the driver's side rear wheel well, is the gas opening.
Yeah.
How are you going to do it? I think it's a bad move. I think for safety's sake, I get it. Because, again, there has been accidents, injuries, and in one case, death a few years ago.
Yeah.
But you're poisoning the swamp on this one, guys. NASCAR, you're really not doing these teams any favors.
I do agree on that, but all I could just say is like I just want to see how this does it at like Daytona first, and then I'd probably give it like maybe like 5 races, if not maybe like less than that, until like they decide, okay, we want to go back to 6 because this isn't really working out, and just have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I can see that, but at the same time, how 6 goes. Now you this is the third, and it's not a lot, believe me. When you go back to 1986, 87, where there's 7 guys, in the last 15 or so years, it's been 6 guys. Now it's down to 5 guys. What's next?
Right.
Is there going to be 3 guys and somebody's pulling triple duty? It just doesn't make any sense.
Pretty much.
But I'm on the outside looking in. I'm not a NASCAR pit crew guy. They might have it figured out by now. I'd like to believe that when we see the duels go off, you're going to see exactly how those pit crews are working, and if they can make that transition from a 6-man over-the-wall team to a 5-man over-the-wall team. You're also going to see a lot of mistakes, which could cost a lot of drivers, a lot of spots, and in some cases, a lot of money.
Yeah.
And once the teams start losing money, you can guarantee that it's going to be Rick Hendrick or Tony Stewart or Roger Penske. It's going to go, you're costing me dollars. We need those 6 guys over the wall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, everything's speculation until they drop the flag on the duels. They do the qualifying for the 3 series, and then the 3 opening races, the 16th, 17th, and 18th of February. So, will I be wrong? Possibly. Could we be right? Possibly.
Yeah.
But I just don't see how, I really don't see how this is going to help.
I mean, we'll just have to see how it goes the first race, and I mean, if it's a success, then great. If not, NASCAR will have to go back to the drawing board and see what they can do next.
Sure, but we've had a couple of seasons now where, in the early, I want to say when Senior died back in 2001.
Yeah.
2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. It seemed like in the middle of the season, they're rewriting the rule book, and it confused people. So we've had a great run of about 11, maybe 13 years where the rule book has stayed the same. There hasn't been too many mid-season rule changes.
Yeah.
And the ones that were made were because too many people were taking advantage of these rules, and NASCAR had to make a decision. We have to change these rules. We have to do it now. You guys are just going to have to comply.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do it. But man, I can remember, years where you go into a race, say at Dover, and they'd say, okay, here's the new aero package. Well, we've been working all winter on this package. We've got the cars dialed in based on the specs you gave us in late December.
Yeah.
Well, we changed that. It might as well be WWE at this point where, the rules are fake and the outcome doesn't matter. So, not downing WWE. I love me some WWE.
Yeah.
But if you're an honest to goodness sport governing body, the rule book has to be the same. You don't hear the NFL changing the rules halfway through the season. You certainly don't hear Major League Baseball change the rules halfway through the season.
Right.
You make a rule, they stick with it. If they find out it doesn't work, well, these are the rules we gave you. You have an entire season to play by them. Then we'll talk about it in winter meetings. So, there's just too much to even think about. And I know we're getting off track here, but I'm curious to see how the 5-man pit crew is going to work.
I mean, I just have to see how this works, on my standpoint. But, I probably say, like, whoever, doesn't, like, who's probably not going to like the rule. I think Tony Stewart's probably going to be the first one to come out and say, like, you're costing us money and you're doing this and that, blah, 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 whatsoever. Because, Tony's a racer and, he pretty much knows all this stuff in between. So,
and the advantage Tony has versus a lot of other owners is that he is a 3-time champion behind the wheel at NASCAR's highest level. He's been a champion no matter where he's gone. He knows what it takes to be in that car, and he knows as an owner, I don't think money's the first thing on his mind. I think the success of the cars, because without success, you don't make the money.
Right.
He's thinking of Clint Boyer, Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, Eric Almirola. These rules could hamper their success, whereas if, I'll agree with you. I'm just the rule change frustrated me.
Yeah.
I don't see it as a plus. I just don't see it as a plus. The last several years, everything NASCAR's touches turned to gold. Yep. Everybody didn't like the chase format back in 2004, 2005, whenever it was indoctrinated. It's been successful.
Yeah.
When they broke it down into a playoff grid, everybody thought it was going to be the death of NASCAR. From 2004 till now, it has been some of the most exciting playoff racing championship runs of any season I've ever known. Look, there was nothing fun about, I want to say it was 2001. Was that Gordon's year? 95, 90, 2000 maybe? I don't know when he won his last championship. All he had to do was get into the car, start the engine, and make the first lap, and he was the champion.
Yeah. And that's happened a couple times.
Exactly. There's nothing fun about that.
Yeah.
I'll go back to 89, sitting watching the race with my buddies when Rusty Wallace won the Cup. They broke it down for you. Okay. No matter what happens with Earnhardt, all Wallace has to do is finish 12th or above, and he's the champion. And you watch that car go up and down that crawler all day, and I'm just, oh my God, this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just basically giving myself a heart attack then at 17 years old. And sure enough, he did it. He did what he had to do, but it was exciting. Yeah. It wasn't like, and him and Earnhardt were within 12 points of each other going into that last race. So it was exciting because Earnhardt was out there owning it, just owning it all day long. Then he had a little bit of a problem, fell back, Rusty came up. It was exciting. There's nothing exciting about, and you're right, Gordon did it. I think once Earnhardt did it back in 1994, where all he had to do was start the car. I think you might be right. All he had to do was start the car and make the first lap, and he was the champion.
Yeah.
Well, basically, you might as well just send everybody home. Race is over, guys. Season's over. Doesn't matter what any of these other, at the time, 42 drivers do. It's over. You already know who's going to raise the trophy at the end of the day. Big deal. The playoff system worked. It has been a plus. So for everything they've done right, I guess maybe it's okay that this particular rule change is wrong. But again, speculation of 50 cents will get you a cup of coffee. We're going to find out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So what else you got, my friend?
So Richard Childress Racing announced their Xfinity lineup for the number 3 car, and they got some really good, talented drivers in this one. So you have both the Dillon brothers, Austin and Ty Dillon. You have one of the ARCA drivers, Shane Lee, Jeb Burton, who's the son of Warburton, and Brendan Gaughan. So now my question is, which one of those guys will win an Xfinity race in the 3 car, and why?
Well, pedigree. He has a father who won there. He has an uncle who's won just about everywhere and was a championship contender. I would put Jeb Burton at the top of that list. And I'll go out on a limb. He'll be my pick for the winner of the first Xfinity race in Daytona.
Well, I mean, the question is that is who Richard Childress puts in that 3 car at Daytona, because I look at this lineup. I mean, I look at this lineup and you look at it, I say to myself, okay, looks like Austin and Ty are going to pretty much run the majority of the races, this season in Xfinity. And then you look at, Brendan Gaughan. He's actually going to be running a road course, schedule at Road America in Mid-Ohio. And then, you also have Shane Lee and Jeb Burton. Those guys will pretty much run basically the part-time or the standalone races whenever, like, the Cup guys are either away or they're, like, off whatsoever. But I probably say that, I'm looking at this list and I'm going, okay, looks like Austin and Ty will probably win a couple races. Brendan will probably get a win on the road course, no doubt about it. And I could possibly see, and I could pretty much see Jeb winning on winning either 1 or 2 races for the 3 car. And not only that, Shane, I just have to see how he does, until he pretty much gets his feet wet in the NASCAR competition. So I haven't looked up his profile on how his career has been in the ARCA series, but But now, you look at it, I think this is going to be very interesting, because the way I see this right now, not only that you're going to be focusing on Team Penske, trying to win that Owners Championship at Xfinity, but we could possibly see maybe, a run between either Gibbs or Richard Childress that can win that Owners Championship this season.
And, when you brought up the lineup, if you will, one of the things I never really liked about the Xfinity series in the last, say, 10 years is the rotating driver's seat.
Yeah.
Yes, I know some of these guys run Cup. Yes, I know they run ARCA and K&N West, all of that. But this is, let's call it what it is. It's the AAA baseball comparison to NASCAR. Now, I know in AAA, guys go up, guys go down, but the core of the team always remains the same. 2 drivers, I can get 2 drivers swapping the seat. A team of 3 or 4, again, you're polluting your own swamp. If they, I get the Dillon boys are going to get that seat based on who their granddaddy is. We all know who their granddaddy is. It's Richard Childress.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. But Austin and Ty are also Cup regulars. They got enough to worry about. You slide them in maybe once or twice a year when, hey, we need a little boost here. Let's put Austin in the car. It's a track he knows. It's a track he's won at. Let's throw him in the car. Sure. Why not? If Shane and Jeb were to share that seat all year, I'd be more likely to buy it. Yeah. But this 4-man rotation, because you never know who you're rooting for. If, back in the day, you could watch the Xfinity races like I did when they were the Busch series and say the number 60 Winn-Dixie car, Mark Martin. That's who I'm going for. The number 70 Fina car, Randy LaJoy, that's who I'm going for. The
Yep.
00 Aquafresh car of Buckshot Jones, that's who I'm going for. Now, from week to week, you don't know who's going to be in that 3 car. You don't know who's going to be in the 7 car. So is it possible that maybe Childress, with the 4-car rotation, like you said, is hedging his bet to win the Owners' Championship? That's fantastic, but you're robbing these guys of winning a singular championship that they can hold up and say, I won this. Me, my talent, my team.
I mean, if you look at it, basically like the way that it's come down to, Penske and Gibbs, they pretty much won the Owners' Championship the last couple of years. And the reason why was because they've had, basically cup drivers behind the wheel. Let's say, like, you go to Penske, you have guys like Keselowski and Blaney and Logano. Those guys have won races, a numerous amount of times. And then Gibbs, they've had, like, a boatload, a ton of drivers. Like, you got Kyle Busch, you got Hamlin, and you have Bell or anybody else who's driving, for the Gibbs guys and so forth. But I probably say that, with this driver lineup, yes, I mean, it's happened in Gibbs, it's happened in Ganassi, it's happened at Childress, Penske, you name it. But the way I look at the Xfinity Series right now, I mean, yes, you're still going to see the Cup guys run like almost every weekend. But now with the whole rule change that, limiting Cup drivers to X amount of races, which will be 7 and so forth, now that gives those guys saying, okay, now I can pretty much run 7 races, but I can't run pretty much all of them. So now I have to look at my calendar and see which ones I could run at, which ones I can't, which ones are the standalones and whatnot. So I think, with this, it's going to be very interesting, with all those teams that are going to have the Cup guys, share those rides in Xfinity. And, who knows? I mean, we could probably see another, season with Cup guys winning Xfinity races, but hopefully the guys that, that can get a chance to get their feet wet, that are coming up through the ranks, that could possibly win races, finish in the top 5, I think that'll be the one thing I'm excited to see.
Yeah, that sounds good. I certainly agree with you on that. I would love to see the Xfinity Series be what it was built to be, which is the feeder system for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. There's nothing worse for me than turning on that race, which I have, when we started this, I started to dip my feet a little more than I had in years because it was that revolving door. And it's still sort of that revolving door. You had your big names that were always in the car, but I'd look up and see Kevin Harvick, who I still think, if you've won a championship on the top level, don't go down. Do not go down. But
No.
you'd see Kevin Harvick in the 88 or the 41 or whatever car they put him under. They just showed on his Facebook page the other day, this is Kevin Harvick's Xfinity car. He's going to be running 5 races this year. Stop. Just stop. The year they shut down KHI and he stopped doing so much Xfinity work, he won a championship.
Yeah.
If you focus on the series that you run full time, you have a better chance at winning, which I think is why Kyle Busch, no matter how many times he's been this close, hasn't won a second championship. He spreads himself too thin.
Yeah.
He owns a truck team and he drives in the truck every now and again.
Yeah.
He has the Xfinity ride. He's doing too much. Not that again, everybody knows how I feel about Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch could have had 3 trophies by now. Had he focused himself on just doing what he's paid to do, which is drive that Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, number 18 M&M's Toyota to victory lane and grab that trophy. But you spread yourself too thin, as a lot of drivers in the past have found out, you're never going to be multiple anything. You'll be a multiple race winner, sure. He's got so many wins on all 3 series. That's fantastic. Every year in the last, I don't know how many years, you go to New Hampshire, they run the modifieds. Who wins that race every year? Ryan frickin' Newman.
Yeah.
And it gets old. I don't want to go to the modified race and see Ryan frickin' Newman. I want to see the young guys. I want to see the guys coming up. Or, I don't know if it happened before New Hampshire or after, but you want to see, God rest his soul, Teddy Christopher get out there and tear it up.
Absolutely.
You want to see Woody Pitkat get out there and tear it up. I don't want to see established Cup drivers come in and take away what is not theirs.
I definitely
Because
agree with you on
lowering,
that.
I'm throwing this one to Eddie. Because if you go to the lower series and you win a race, it is theft.
Yeah.
I can see him laughing in the ghost box. He earned that one. So, I mean, yeah, going back to your original question, I think Jeb Burton collects the first win. If he runs in Daytona, that's the day. It's probably
Yeah.
going to be one of the Dillon boys, but Jeb Burton collects the first win for RCR in the 3.
Oh, definitely. I definitely agree on that one.
So, with Christopher Bell moving up, with the Xfinity Series having so much turnaround and turmoil, do we see a repeat champion in William Byron? Because I think he's going down. Is he staying, or is he on that the 6 race rule?
William Byron?
Yeah.
He's actually moving up the Cup full time this year, driving the 24.
Right, but as a rookie, is he a part of that 6 race rule that you can only go down for 6 races?
I haven't heard yet if he's going to be running an Xfinity schedule this year, but I would probably say that right now he's going to have to focus on the Cup side. And then if anything, Junior Motorsports will probably announce like this year, like Byron will probably run X amount of races driving the 88 or wherever it is and so forth. And actually, it's kind of funny because I was reading an article. They said that Dale Jr. is actually going to be running an Xfinity race, and his only race that he's going to be running this year is at Richmond in the fall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Under the lights. Great choice. Yep. Do you see an odds-on favorite? I know with the Truck Series, everything's up in the air because Bell moved up. Yes, yep. You have the guys that were there at the end, but there really isn't a favorite. Do you see a favorite in the Xfinity Series? Not an engine has started yet, but if you had to choose an odds-on favorite to take the Cup in November come Homestead, who would it be?
Boy, that's pretty. It's too early for me to decide. I mean, like I would have to. I mean, I usually wait until like after the race at Daytona, and then pretty much like the first few races of the season to decide. Okay, who's going to be the best at going for the championship this year, and who's going to be the best going to the playoffs this season. But I would say that if I would have to pick one right now, I would. It wouldn't surprise me if Martin Truex Jr. ends up winning the championship for the second year in a row, but if you go back,
on the Xfinity side, or okay, I see where you're going. Never mind.
On the Cup side, but
right.
But if you but let's go back to this though. Now that Chevrolet is unveiling their new car, the Camaro, and I actually did a lot of research just a few minutes ago before the show, and the amount of races that Chevrolet I think won a year ago, I think was probably 10 or 11, comparing to the Toyotas. They basically just dominated almost everybody. And then the Fords, they've won a few races this year. But going back, you got the Chevrolet Camaro that's coming out in the Cup Series. And think of the possibilities that this could bring. You go to Hendrick, let's say that, Chase Elliott could get his first career win. Jimmy Johnson can get back on his championship stride after what happened a year ago. Then you go to Ganassi. They can pick up from where they left off a year ago. Kyle Larson, can start winning more than 3 or 4 races. And we know how that kid can drive, especially, how he can drive a loose race car and whatnot. Then you go to Richard Childress Racing. They haven't been competitive since I'd say maybe 2013, 2006 whatsoever. And now with this new car that's coming out, you could possibly see guys like Austin Dillon and Ryan Newman. Those guys could end up winning races. And not only that, Richard Petty Motorsports, they ended up switching manufacturers to Chevrolet during the offseason, and who knows? We could probably see Bubba Wallace ended up winning a race sometime during this season. And I look at the new Chevrolet car, don't be surprised if it gets to a good dominant start for the for the first couple of races of the year, because that's what Toyota did pretty much last season when they unveiled their new car. Think of how many races they won last year. They won a ton of races not only in the regular season, but they mostly won in the playoffs as well.
Right. And, we talked about it, I don't know how many weeks ago, about Toyota dominance, where they've got it figured out, whether it's speed, engine durability, stage racing. Those teams have figured it out. And now with the Camaro coming up, instead of the Monte Carlo, the body style is going to be different. Is it going to be better aerodynamically? Are they going to cut through the wind? I remember when Ford switched, I don't know how many years ago, from the Thunderbird to the Fusion, they couldn't win to save their life. They had to figure out what to do inside the car versus the aerodynamics, because the aerodynamics suck. So I'm sure, again, everything progresses. They figure it out. I think right now, Toyota, number one. You can't deny the dominance. I do have a feeling if the Camaro that they're putting out on the racetrack is aerodynamically similar to the one that you see out on the streets, which back in the day, when Chevy was running the Lumina on the circuit, it looked body-wise a lot like the Lumina you saw in your neighbor's driveway.
Yeah.
And they won a lot. Lumina was fantastic. So I think now Chevy, last couple years, Chevy and Ford, neck and neck.
Yeah.
I think what you're going to see this year is Ford is going to be left in the dust.
Yeah.
Because, again, they've been running Monte Carlos before that. Every now and again, Chevy just rolls something out and says, this is the body style you're going to run. Thank you, drive through, what have you. The Camaro is, as far as their off the lot lines, the most aerodynamic, sleek car they have. If the body style mimics the car you see on the street, Ford's got a problem. And Ford is not going to be able to figure out that problem because the Fusion is not a great aerodynamic car. When you see a Ford win a race, it's based on the engine and the chassis. It has nothing to do with the body design and the aerodynamic.
Right.
Because you can see a Toyota and a Chevy aerodynamically are very similar. And I haven't seen one of these Camaros, not even in a picture. But when I do, I have a feeling it's going to look just like that Camry that Toyota rolls out onto the racetrack.
Yeah.
So now Ford has a problem. And Ford is going to have to take a year or two to figure it out. So if you see a Ford in victory lane, it's not going to be because they cut through the wind like nobody's business. It's going to be that whoever builds their engine gave them something and gave them enough horses to gallop ahead of the field.
Right.
So, again, we'll go back to Toyota dominance. You already mentioned that you could see Martin Truex repeating this year. Is there another Toyota driver not named Kyle Busch that you could see giving him a good challenge in a Toyota?
The one I can probably think of right now would definitely have to be Eric Jones. And you look at him, face it, he's replacing Matt Kenseth. He's in a really good ride. And not only that, he's actually coming off winning Rookie of the Year, after driving a year at Furniture Row Racing. But now that he's driving for a really good car and a good team, this could be a guy that, could win races, that could contend for championships. And not only that, this could be a kid that can easily make it into the playoffs this season.
Right. And going back to Furniture Row Racing, they made not only the smartest move, but the dumbest move in this offseason, or even before the season ended, because we all knew Eric Jones was gone.
Yeah.
The smartest move they made was paring it down to a one-car team.
Yeah.
And focusing all their energy on 78 of Martin Truex Jr. The dumbest move they made was going down to a one-car team and focusing all their energy on Martin Truex Jr. because you just lost potentially the next great driver on the circuit in Eric Jones.
Yeah.
The kid's got all the ability in the world. He's a charismatic guy. If you've ever seen him talk on television, he owns the screen. He owns the microphone. There's a kid who in 10, 15, 20 years, whenever he decides to hang it up, is going to make that transition like Jeff Burton, like Jeff Gordon, like Rusty Wallace, into the television booth. I'm a little skeptical about Junior in the booth only because he's too down home. But we'll get to that. That was going to be one of my next questions.
Yeah.
But Eric Jones, letting Jones walk away was easily the dumbest thing that Furniture Row Racing did. At the same time, it was a smart move. It's one of those things where you're going to have to wait to see this season how the scales tip. Is paring down to a one-car team going to be beneficial to them and focusing all their energy on the 78? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Because now They don't have that second team like Eric Jones, where if the 77 was running great and the 78 wasn't, you go talk to each other, you figure it out. A lot like Rusty Wallace and Ryan Newman back in the day. A lot like Dale Earnhardt and Mike Skinner back in the day.
Yeah.
What did you do to get that lap? Why are you 2 seconds faster than me? Oh, here, go talk to the crew chief. Oh, I did this, this, and this. Boom. The next day, Earnhardt's a house of fire. And him and Skinner are owning something, or Wallace and Newman are leading the pack. That synergy is gone. And a one-car team, it's been proven, can win. You can win a championship being a one-car team. Rusty Wallace, Bill Elliott, Alan Kulwicki. Tony Stewart in the beginning, I think, was a one-car team when he started Stewart-Haas Racing.
Yeah.
I'm not certain on that, but one-car teams can win championships. But you have nobody to talk to now. I don't know what the relationships are like with, say, Richard Childress, Stewart-Haas, etc., so forth. So who are they going to talk to get that extra little bump, to shave that second off their qualifying time or their race trim? You have one team. All your numbers are on one car.
Right.
I think it's a bad move. I love the fact that they're focusing all their attention on Martin. But again, I've said it a couple times during the show. You're poisoning your own swamp. Sorry, guys. I love me some Martin Truex, but Furniture Row out of Denver, Colorado didn't do you any favors, kid.
Right.
So, going further on the Cup Series side, which rookie collects the win first?
Definitely, I'd have to say William Byron.
Oh, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I think that he comes up with such amazing momentum, much like Christopher Bell on the Xfinity Series side, where, Christopher Bell, it's not going to take him more than 3-4 races to get in victory lane. Wouldn't be surprised to see Chris Bell in victory lane at Daytona, strangely enough. He's one of those guys I could see doing it. Yeah. I think you're right about Byron. I also think that, if it wasn't Byron, I think Bubba Wallace has a good shot. And I love the fact that finally, there's been a few over the years, but finally the African-American community is represented on the biggest racing circuit of them all.
Yeah.
This is a plus. Now, you go, you've been to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I got my Dover T-shirt on. I've been to Charlotte. I've been to Darlington. And over the years, you see more and more African-American fans in the stands.
Yeah.
When people think NASCAR, when a lot of people think NASCAR, they think a bunch of toothless rednecks who drink PBR and, bush beer, and they just go shoot raccoons in the side yard and bring it back to mama, and she's going to, up Eddie, I can see him in the ghost box right now. But what people learn when they educate themselves is that this is a sport of inches, brains, science. There's so much to this. It's not just get behind the wheel and drive. You can put the best driver in the worst equipment. He may not win. You could put a crap driver, and we've seen it over the years. There's a reason why Derek Cope is a Daytona 500 champion.
Yeah.
You put a crap driver in good equipment, and things fall his way. And, when you go to Daytona and you see that trophy, the mock trophy outside of the racetrack, Derek Cope's name is on there. Sterling Marlin won 2 Daytona 500s. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Sterling Marlin only won at 2 tracks, Talladega and Daytona.
Yeah.
The 2.5 milers.
Yeah.
So you put a guy in good equipment, he's got a decent shot. Whereas I don't think you could have back in the day put a Dale Earnhardt in crappy equipment, although that man was a racing genius. He'd find his way to the front. Would he win 76 races in his career if he wasn't in some top-notch equipment? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think he'd be a 7-time champ if he didn't have good equipment and all the right tools. All the right tools, whether it was Larry McReynolds in the booth, on his war wagon, or whomever. He had just the right amount of everything, which what made him great. Rusty Wallace had some great crew chiefs over the years, but the one that took him there, unfortunately, just passed away, Barry Dodson.
Yep.
So, but he also had a great run with Buddy Parrott. he had a great run with all these guys, but he
Yep.
never made that same success anywhere else. And the success is born and bred out of that championship. You know, in '93, Wallace wins 10 races. He also had 6 DNFs, which robbed him of the championship.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You have to have the chemistry. So going back to the original point, you're right. William Byron, Bubba Wallace, this can happen. The rookie crop is going to easily take. I'm just going to lowball it 2 wins this year.
Yeah.
So on the Cup side, once again, I'll throw another question at you. You said Truex can repeat. Who do you see non-Toyota? I already asked you about Toyota.
Yeah.
Just give me one name that's going to be right there battling to take that trophy away from Martin Truex.
Man, the non-Toyota who I probably see, can win the championship this year would definitely have to be Kyle Larson.
Okay. I actually was thinking different. I think, you got a guy who's, Kyle Larson has a lot to prove. I'll give you that. He had a fantastic Cinderella season. Unfortunately, a string of bad luck shot him down. There's nothing you can do. That's racing, guys. Bad luck, if it nips you hard enough. Like, take Kurt Busch, for example. Kurt Busch had this incredible season this year. Leads off with a Daytona win.
Yep.
He had, top 5s, top 10s. He was competitive in the first couple races of the playoffs. Bad luck. It happens. But there's somebody out there who's got a lot to prove this year. And as much as I dislike saying it, I think you're looking at Joey Logano being that number 2 guy right behind Truex battling for the championship. I'd rather it be the 4 car of Kevin Harvick, but if I'm going to play the honesty card here, Joey Logano's got more to prove than anyone else on that circuit this year.
I definitely agree on that, and I definitely expect to see, not only Logano, but mostly on the Penske side, to have a rebound this year. And I know that Keselowski, did go to the championship 4, couldn't pull it off, but I think it's going to be very interesting now that Penske's going to 3 cars on the Cup side, and I do expect to see Logano, to have a big rebound this year, and if he gets off to the same thing that he did last season, I'd definitely be surprised. But I think this will be a year that Logano will get back into the playoffs, and who knows, he'll probably be back in the championship 4 in November.
The last time Penske had a 3-car run, they spread themselves too thin, and they basically gave away the house.
Yeah.
And then the next year they pared it down to 2, and Keselowski comes home with the championship. Is Penske spreading themselves too thin, expanding to 3 drivers, or do they have the right combination of drivers in Keselowski, Blaney, Logano?
I think they got a good combination. I mean, you look at Ryan Blaney last year. I mean, when he was with the Wood Brothers last season, he ended up winning at Pocono, and not only that, with the fact that the Wood Brothers is aligned with Team Penske, I really think with him coming on board, I think Blaney's going to win more than 1 race this year. If not, he could probably win like maybe 5 from what I'm predicting and stuff. And then you add Paul Menard in the mix, now that he's going to be the replacement driver at the Wood Brothers. And the fact what he can do is, he's been a Childress the last couple of years. And, besides the fact he had that Brickyard win back in 2011, that's going to be pretty much the dark horse team, not only on the Penske Alliance side, to watch out for, because we've seen what the Wood Brothers have done, at Daytona and Talladega. They're pretty much that car, that can run near the front, that can lead laps, and hopefully you can win a race. And I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Menard pulls off an upset win, with the Wood Brothers at either Daytona or Talladega, because I think this could be probably a season where that 21 team can be pretty competitive this year.
I mean, just mentioning the Wood Brothers, who saw Trevor Bayne coming at that Daytona 500 years ago? Nobody. He was working that car. You heard his name over and over again. Trevor Bayne moves up. Trevor Bayne moves up. Trevor Bayne just took this spot. By the end of the race, you're like, this kid could do this. And lo and behold, he did it. So, and as a rookie, he was running a part-time schedule.
Yeah.
So he was ineligible for, I think that was the year that they started winning your in. but because he was ineligible,
the winning
we'd
you're
have to
in,
look
that
that up.
started
I'm
back
going to
in
the Google
like
machine.
the winning you're in started back in 2014.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right, hold that thought. I'm going to go to the Google machine while I talk. But again, Trevor Bayne proved and basically gave the Wood brothers new life, and they've been hot ever since. They keep moving up, moving up, moving up, and now with Bayne with Roush, he's been a bucket of suck. Sorry, not sorry. Hate to say it, but yeah. And Trevor Bayne was the youngest, 2011. And I want to look at this. Born in Knoxville, Tennessee. Nobody cares. Oh, yeah. Yep, finishing 2011 season. They moved him to the Nationwide car. Oh, this is his Xfinity. Here we go. He would run the Wood Brothers Limited schedule. He won the Daytona 500, youngest winner. Despite the big win, Bayne finished 40th the next week. He was ineligible for the chase because of his part-time schedule. And I think 2011 was the win you're in. I'm just going by Wikipedia. They could be wrong, but is what it is. Nobody saw Bayne coming.
No.
But unlike a Derek Cope, who we spoke about earlier, Bayne is competitive most of the time.
Yeah.
He's just not one of those guys that finishes strong in the last several years. And I know he had the health issue and whatnot, but if you want to stay at the top level, kid, you got to work at the top level. There's a reason why guys have come up, run a cup series for 2-3 years, and then they're gone. There's a reason why guys come from other series, whether it's F1 or whatever, and it doesn't translate. Juan Pablo Montoya, Danica Patrick, fantastic. You did great at open wheels. The cars weighed half as much, tires were twice as wide.
Yeah.
Now you're in a car that weighs twice as much and the tires are half as wide. And it doesn't translate. Just because you did good in a go-kart or in a sprint car, it doesn't mean you're going to do well in a stock car on asphalt 36 weeks a year.
Right.
So, there's a lot that goes into it. And, can Trevor Bayne have that success again? Hope so. Can Paul Menard, going to the Wood brothers, who, again, have steadily risen since that Daytona 500, can Paul Menard have success in that car? Certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Wow, you're killing me tonight, kid.
Well, thank you. Just got to keep up.
You're
Just got to
welcome.
keep up with everything that's going on in the world right now in NASCAR, and I tell you, I think it's going to be very interesting. And not only that, you're going to see a lot of surprises this year. And not only that, I think this is going to be the year. And I've said this over and over. The young guys are just going to dominate this year. And heck, we could pretty much see maybe 10, maybe 12 young guys make the playoffs, and not only the Cup side, but in the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series this year.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. That could happen. Absolutely. But as we close out, do you have any final questions, thoughts, comments, concerns before we next convene on, let me get the calendar because I want to make sure everybody has the date correct. This is the 31st. So we next convene on, we might have to talk about that Valentine's Day. Might have to do it the day after. But we will be back with you before Daytona to cover the 3 series openers. Any final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns going into Speed Weeks?
All right, so go to Facebook. I am on NASCAR IndyCar Central. Twitter, we are on at NASCAR Indy. Instagram at NASCAR IndyCar. Also go to NASCARIndy.org. We are going to be excited for covering the 2018 season, and not only what we're gonna see this year, but we're just hoping what the 2018 season's gonna bring and so forth. But so before I close out this, just one little question. So you're going for the Patriots for the Super Bowl on Sunday. What's your prediction on the score?
All right. I thought about this long and hard. We didn't cover it on the Loki Jabroni Show podcast, but I thought about it today because I knew you were going to put me on the spot, and I know who you're going for. You don't even have to say it out loud. You will. You said you would at the end of the broadcast. I I really honestly believe this is going to be a blowout. My prediction for the score is New England 35, Philadelphia 14.
It's a good pick. I mean, I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be close, but I don't think it's going to top last year's game. It's not going to top it by about that much. But I would say on my score, I think it's going to be 24-21. And without further ado,
Uh-oh.
hold on.
Why am I not liking this? Oh, for the love of Pete.
Yes, without further ado, this is pretty much the team who I'm going to be rooting for in the Super Bowl.
Oh, for the love of Pete.
And honestly, everybody in New England's going to hate me for this, but hey, you got to have an underdog, win the Super Bowl. And honestly, let's make this clear. I haven't watched a lot of the NFL this year, and I didn't watch a lot of the games. And not only that, I actually didn't watch the first few games of the year because I kind of boycotted, with the whole national anthem protests and whatnot. But I mean, I actually thought about this long and hard. And I said to myself, you know what? I honestly don't even care who wins. I mean, let's face it. New England wins, I'll be happy. Philadelphia wins, I'll be happy because I've been to those two cities before, and my grandparents live down there. My uncle lives down there. My cousins live down there, and it's kind of funny, Pretty much my uncle and my cousins are all like big Eagles fans and whatnot. But actually, before I want to close this out, I want to give a shout out to Jack Huffnagel. He is my dad's dad. He's actually my grandfather on my dad's side. And funny fact is he's a really big fan of this show, and he's been watching a lot of our stuff ever since, we've been uploading since day one, and he's been, giving us 110%, on our good work. And funny fact is Jack, who lives down in Philadelphia, he's a Patriots fan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's got to be tough. That was like me last year, living in the heart of New England, having Falcon gear and Falcon tattoos and just Falcon love. But Jack, thank you so much. It's guys like you that keep us going every single week. Gotta love it. I can see the producer in the ghost box getting ready to announce auditions for a new co-host. So, but Corey will stay. I stand with Eddie. New England Patriots all the way, red, white, and blue. Although it says Dover, the red, white, and blue. Gotta do what I gotta do. Real quick little couple shout outs. Thank you to Marcus Arju, Terry Martin, Mike Martin for being fans of the show. Much appreciated. Share it, love it, tell your friends. The Loki and Jabroni Show, obviously live streaming every Tuesday night on Facebook. Go like us there. And you can catch us on audio only on iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Wherever you steal your favorite podcast from, that's where you'll find us. If you want to help this show and our other shows in the network, you go to www.patreon.com/Loki and Jabroni. Give us a little donation, $1 a week, $5 a month, whatever you want. It helps both shows. And if you want to help out even further, go to www.cafepress.com/Loki and Jabroni. Buy yourself a t-shirt, a bumper sticker, or a coffee mug. We don't care what you put in the coffee mug, just so long as you have one. And soon, Eddie and I have talked about it. We're going to get some C&J Speedway gear out there. So you never know when you're going to show up at a race and you see somebody in a C&J Speedway review shirt, and one of us might come up behind you and go, hey, nice shirt. Never know.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the world.
Absolutely.
All right, Corey, we will see you in 2 weeks. I'm going to guess that because Eddie and I don't know what your, lady situation is or what have you. I'm going to surmise that we will see you on Thursday, the 15th, for the final preseason show before Daytona.
All right, so that's 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks. February 15th, my daughter's 10th birthday. Let's get her done. Guys, thank you for joining us once again. We will be back. We are going to put something up on the page where instead of us coming up with content, we want you to ask the questions, whether it's Jack, Mike, Terry, Mark, Zach. I know Zach is all up in your business. He asks questions all the time. Maybe we'll take Zach's questions and roll it into a show. Maybe Zach will run the show.
Could be.
All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Good night.